We started off, it was pretty much buying our first TV. Mm-hmm. We were like, okay, let's go Best Buy and, you know, find the biggest TV we can find. And there you go. And we go there and like, oh, yeah, we like that.
12 months, no interest,
and
hey?
12 months later, you can pay the rest. So,
yeah.
And then, okay, now we need a couch. Let's go buy a couch for it too. Yeah. Now we need entertainment center. Let's go buy an entertainment center for it too. So we just start buying the stuff.
It was a 3-piece ensemble in the 80s, okay? I think it was about $150, which I would never do that now. But my thinking was back then, we have money. I never had money. We can afford to do this. So I did that. Didn't check with him. Came home, showed him this outfit I had bought. And you said...
I wasn't happy.
I have to tell it now. She saved at least 40%. Spending $600 on 2 pillows.
No, there were 4 pillows, okay?
4 pillows.
4 pillows. They were custom made.
By people here in America. She was providing jobs. And she got this huge discount.
A 40% discount.
And yet there's no cereal in the cabinet because we're broke. But we've got these pillows, so when people come over, like her grandmother,
it was so
they will be
pretty,
happy.
and it matched the rug that we bought on 0% down. And, you know, same as cash.
Yeah, there was a lot of same as cash.
So much same as cash. The pillows.
An encyclopedia salesman came to the house. And 45 minutes later, I'm begging him to sell me the encyclopedias because I so want to be a good mother. Now, at this point, I couldn't buy a bottle of nail polish. That's how poor we were. But I had a $500 set of Encyclopedia Britannica in my house.
I think I was the one that had the first credit card. At JCPenney, I was young, and they're like, you know, if you apply, you get this free purse. And so I applied, and I got the purse, and I got the darn credit card.
Buyer beware is our lesson this evening. Make sure you find that in your workbooks. Buyer beware. In Latin, the term is caveat emptor. You now know all the Latin I know. I learned that in the real estate business. Back in the old days in the real estate business, we didn't have buyer's agents. The listing agent and the selling agent both got paid by the seller, and so the buyer technically had no representation. And so the saying in the real estate business that we were taught back in 1978 when I took my real estate test, the very first one I took, was let the buyer beware. And I thought of that when I thought of this whole subject matter for you. You, the buyer, need to beware. See, up to now, what we've been doing is teaching you about saving and relationships and money and getting out of debt and having a plan. And now what I want to explain to you is there's a massive group of people out there trying to sell you stuff. They want to interrupt your plan. Shields up, baby, because they're coming for your deal. They are messing with you. They're wanting to get their fingers, their claws, their wedges into your life and sell you stuff and interrupt your plan. And so I need to teach for a few minutes, and let's talk about how that works in our spirits, how this stuff has effect on us, so that once we have that knowledge, that gives us the shields to make wise buying decisions. Companies use every angle to aggressively compete for your money. Companies that don't do a good job of marketing and don't get your money go out of business. They are for profit. They're not evil. Their job is to sell you their stuff, their goods or services. To the extent they don't do that, they leave. So it's pretty desperate out there in the marketplace. They're fighting and scratching and clawing to get your business, to market to you, to convince you that what they have is not a need, it's not a want, it's a necessity. You have to have it. And they got to drill that down into your psyche. They work really hard to cause that to happen. We live in the most marketed to culture in the history of the world. At this moment in time, we have more advertising impressions and marketing processes driven at us than at any time in the history of the human race. That's a pretty wild thought. And in North America, we are the king of marketing. We're the king of it. And so those of us that call ourselves citizens of the United States of America, we get impacted harder than any human beings in the history of the world by this marketing. That's a pretty big statement if you think about it. But that's not over-dramatized. That is really the way things are. So we have to become wise consumers. We have to get control of this spending so it doesn't take over our lives and these things don't enter into our lives. Now, they go after our money in several major ways. Major ways companies market to us. The first one is personal selling. Many of us, me included, have been trained in the art of selling one-on-one, of helping someone realize the benefits of our product, our good, or our service. And they see the benefits of that, and they will exchange their hard-earned money for that. A salesman who does not learn that art form does not understand the interpersonal skill of making a persuasive argument, goes broke. Zig Ziglar's brother years ago, a guy named Judge Ziglar, wrote a book that's called Timid Salesmen Have Skinny Kids. And if you don't learn how to sell in the sales situation, you have to go do something else. The classic salesperson, of course, is on the car lot. And the basic close. First thing we're ever taught in sales is never answer a question except with another question. And so someone comes up and they see a Ford Taurus sitting there and they see a green one and they say, do you have this in blue? The salesman or sales lady that says yes is pretty quickly out of business. Or no. You never just answer the question. You say, I'll be happy to check on that, but now were you looking for a 2-door or a 4-door? I think a 4-door. Were you looking for the sport version or the luxury package? Oh, I'm thinking luxury. You think the sunroof would be in order, or are you thinking maybe you want to save those dollars? Oh, no, we don't want the sunroof. Did you want the one with all 4 wheels? And as I'm asking all of these questions, I'm basically filling out the order. The National Auto Dealers Association that has studied sales in that setting on the car lot knows that 88% of the time that someone is on a new car lot and does a test drive, if they leave the lot, 88% of the time they will never be back. And you promise them you're coming back. You really mean to come back. But by the time you take a test drive, you have car fever. And it causes you to lie. You didn't mean to lie, but it causes you to lie. Oh, because he's such a nice guy. We're just gonna look around and then we'll be back. In 72 hours, you'll buy a car. And 88% of the time, you won't be back. In the car business, they call them be-backs. So when they start that I'll be back thing, you get ready to leave, you say, oh, I'm coming back, I promise. You look down, there'll be something around your ankle and it's the salesman. Don't leave, right? Because they know if you get off the lot, 9 out of 10 times they've lost you. You're gone. It's the basics of selling. And so you need to understand that there are people that study this art form. They spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars and tens of thousands of man hours learning how to do alternative closes, learning how to walk you through a benefits presentation. The art of persuasion is alive and well, and it causes us, you and I, to buy things. It really, really does. Another way they get at us is financing and convenient payment methods. Now, one of the things I've talked to you a lot through this whole course, and I'm going to keep talking to you about it, is I want you to be able to feel money. When you finance something, you don't feel it. You don't feel the weight of it. For instance, if you get ready to buy a living room suit and it's $4,000 for all the pieces, if you have to pay $4,000 for it, you went, wow, that's heavy. I just bought something. But if they can get you to finance it, you don't think about it. All you're asking is how much down, how much a month. That's what poor people ask. How much down, how much a month? Rich people ask, how much? They feel the weight of the decision. Financing the decision takes the weight of it off. It's a method of marketing. And so we have stuff out there like 90 days, same as cash. Well, that doesn't really work out that way because 88% of the 90 days, same as cash contracts, convert to payments that are usually around 24% interest, APR, with the rule of 78's prepayment penalty. Now, rule of 78's we're not going to go into, but basically that means they're going to kick you in the teeth if you try to pay it off early, and they're going to get a whole bunch of the interest that they didn't even earn. So it's the worst of the worst. Most people don't pay it off in 90 days, and it converts to payments, and they back charge you through the whole 90 days. And because you didn't feel the weight of the purchase when you bought it, you just said, press hard, there's 3 copies as you're signing. You've got to place that signature there. That's the whole thing. And 89% of new car purchases are financed according to cars.com. So that's 9 out of 10 people that buy a new car somehow don't pay for it. They pay for it in the form of financing. And so they never think about whether that car is $23,000 or $18,000. All they think about is how much a month and how much down. And that takes the pressure off of the purchase. And so financing becomes a method of marketing. Also, anything they can do to make it just convenient and easy for you to buy and not even think about it and not see and touch real money causes you to buy. Store loyalty cards, store reward cards, store credit cards. We'll give you 10% off if you sign up for our credit card as you're buying this. And you promise that you're going to go home and cut it up as soon as it comes in the mailbox, but then there's another sale. They know this. They know exactly what their conversion rate is. Every time they know that someone signs up, they know how many are going to cut it up. They know how many are going to close. And believe me, they wouldn't be giving that discount unless they made money on average across our stupid decisions. This is not a game for them. It's a mathematical science. They're studying our behavior. We're like a bunch of lab rats, and they're watching what we are doing. Mobile payment options, paying for things on your mobile phone. Now, here's a real good idea. Be in traffic and make a decision to buy something. You are not registering emotionally the purchase, are you? You're not catching the purchase. So anything they can do to make it convenient. In the phones now are the NFC chips, and we're starting to see already that you can just walk in with your phone and buy something. You put your numbers on there. You can hit PayPal. Just walk in there and buy something. You put your numbers on there, your debit card. You just walk in there and buy something. And see, you don't register holding a cell phone versus holding real money. You don't realize you're actually buying things. Apple, man, they're just geniuses. They are excellent, excellent marketers. And they've got the new iPhone Apple app. You can put it on your iPhone, and what you can do is walk into the Apple store with your iPhone, take an item, maybe some nice headphones off the shelf, scan it yourself. It's already charged to your account, and you walk out. There's no checkout line. There's no interaction with any of their staff. It's instantaneous, low impact, very convenient. And you don't even realize you just bought something with Apple's incredible margins. They have incredible margins. That's how they pay for all that marketing. And they are excellent. They're a great company. I'm not mad at them. I just want you to understand how good they are. And when interviewed, people ask immediately, well, aren't you worried about theft? Aren't you worried about shrinkage? And the Apple comment was just fabulous. I love it. It says, the risk of shrinkage is not worth losing the convenience. Translation, we're going to sell so much stuff, if something gets stolen, it'll be okay. That's really what they're saying. And that's really what's going on. Now, obviously, they've got theft protection things in there. They're not crazy. But the point is, make it easy for the customer to buy, and the customer buys more. And you're the customer. So you have to have your shields up. TV, radio, magazines, internet, the impact of all of these things with media where they just pound their message at us. Just boom, boom, boom. It's a steady beat of these drums. And you can't wander along with your brain half plugged in because you're going to come home and there's going to be a garage full of stuff and you have no idea who bought it, and then it'll suddenly occur to you it was you. Because they have a plan to get your money. And you have to have a plan to not let them interrupt your plan.
We went for a walk, and I love birds. And we saw some really cool birds in a tree, and I did not know what they were. They were cedar waxwings, but I didn't know that. And as we're walking back, there's a young man walking down the street. He said, "Are you going to look at the cedar waxwings?" And we were like, "Oh, you know what they are." We start talking, and then we notice he has a solar salesman t-shirt on.
He had a great personality that really mixed with us, and we had a lot of humor between us, which we really liked.
And we had just gotten this beautiful new roof for our house. And so it was okay for us to get solar panels.
And the more we thought about it, the more we needed to have these solar panels.
We needed them real
to do
bad.
It right now. The urgency that the tax benefits that you get are going to go away.
And that was what they were they push that this is going to run out. And so you're thinking, well, if we don't have those rebates, then we're not going to be able to ever afford this. And so we need to do this now.
It was a lot of information that really played on our
Emotions.
fun and emotion. And then $40,000 later, we have some beautiful solar panels in our new roof.
Don't think you have to have something. Just, if somebody is creating a sense of urgency to sell you something, maybe take a minute to think about their motives.
This stuff works. It has power. It has integrated itself into our lives to the point that we'll buy an old Coca-Cola antique sign to put up in our den. People will buy t-shirts for the opportunity to wear these brands and be walking billboards for other companies and pay for the right to do that. How interesting a culture we now live in. This is fabulous, but you, in order to have financial peace, have to get your shields up. Now, you can enjoy the process of buying things, but you now need to be an adult and not just be led to the slaughter like a bunch of sheep anymore. That's what we're laying in place here. And of course, the one I love is Amazon's One-Click. Oh, I love Amazon One-Click. That's where you set up an account with them, and anytime you see something, you just click on it. You just click on it, and my whole basement was full of books. Because I'm a book junkie. Make it easy for the customer to buy, and they will buy more, whether it's convenience or whether it's financing. Then there's product positioning. Now, product positioning takes on a couple of different forms. Form one it takes on is it takes on the form of how they position themselves in our minds. For instance, Mercedes has done a great job marketing their product. Mercedes is a great car. I love them. They're awesome. And they position themselves in our mind as the car that holds its value. Mercedes don't go down like others. Yes, they do. It's a myth. Cadillac actually spent $100 million on an advertising campaign back in the 90s, full page ads everywhere, showing the statistical evidence, the real numbers that Cadillacs percentage-wise held their value better than Mercedes. But Mercedes had done such a good job sticking that in the American public's mind that no one believed the ads, and the ad campaign was a flop. And it was based on facts. But they positioned their product in our minds in a certain way where we believe it. And of course, anything that Apple produces is really cool. I mean, I got Apple stuff just hoping I'd get some spike hair. There was almost one, and then it went away. I mean, I didn't want to be a PC, even though I'm an old bald guy. What great marketing. What a great job they've done. They are the cool of computers. They're the cool of electronics. They're the cutting edge. And they position themselves marketing. Now, they may or may not have a better operating system. They may or may not have a better handheld device. Doesn't matter. They've convinced everybody that they do. That's marketing. And they put it in your mind. Bottled water, I love this one. I've got a friend who's a water snob. A water snob? He can tell the difference. No, he can't. There's no way. I was getting ready to do an event with 2020 with John Stossel, and so I thought I better read a couple of John's books before I went up there. That was before he left 2020, and so I read a couple of his books, and one of the things I found in there was very interesting. He did this full expose on the bottled water phenomenon. I mean, and so they got the expensive bottled water, and they got, the generic bottled water. Generic water. That's interesting, isn't it? What a great job they do. And then he got New York City tap water. And they put them out on a table in glasses, exactly the same temperature, exactly the same level, controlled environment, had people taste test. The most expensive water lost. New York tap water came in third. They took it to a biologist, a microbiologist. He said all the waters were almost identical except the New York tap water, which had a little more fluoride in it. But other than that, they were identical. Guess who lost? Evian. They lost the taste test. Interesting. It's kind of interesting to me that Evian spelled backwards is naive. Color in terms of product positioning. You take like an ERA real estate sign, that ugly orange. I used to work for those guys. It gets your attention. You see it when you're driving. The color matters. It doesn't blend in with the landscape. That was a professionally done color analysis to come up with that orange. And since it worked so well, apparently the same company that comes up with ugly colors that catch your attention did Century 21. So we got yellow and orange. I feel like we're in traffic school, right? But it catches your peripheral vision as you drive by. Oh, there's a house for sale. And they're positioning themselves. They're doing everything they can to get your attention and hold your attention. Shelf position matters. The books that are in the bookstore are not at the front because they're the best books. That's because those of us that are authors have publishers that paid that bookstore for that shelf position. If you're a Nabisco and you want your Oreos in a certain place in the store, and you do want them in a certain place in the grocery store, you will pay for that shelf position. Merchandising. Grocery stores are some of the best merchandisers on the planet. They study how you work the aisles better than anybody else. They put the stuff at the right position. All the kids' stuff is down here. Of course, the impulse things, Wrigley's gum was the first to discover that right there at the register, right? And that made the Wrigley family wealthy because they had the impulse items right there at the register. This stuff is not done on accident. These people study you and I like lab rats. They are all over us. And so what happens is this. I'm out there pumping my gas, and the stupid debit card thing won't work, and it's hot. And so I'm kind of aggravated now. And I walk into the store, and as I'm walking up to pay, there's one of these. Of course, where that is sitting is scientifically placed. If it's too much in my way, it aggravates me and does damage to the brand. If it's not enough in my way, I don't even see it and walk past it. So it has to be just perfect to where I see it. And I walk up to it. Now I'm aggravated and I'm hot, and I see a Mountain Dew and I pull it out, and a piece of ice runs and drops off. And as it does that, in my subconscious, I go off a tire swing into a creek. And I walk over and pay more for this than I would have paid for a case of them across the street at the grocery store. It's a different thing. Or I can go in here and I can get me some Deer Park water, right? Some of that generic water. I'm not sure we should be drinking from where a deer parked. Something to think about. They position things in such a way that we see them, touch them, feel them, see them. The colors, the shelf position, none of this is an accident. People who do these things by accident go out of business. The competition out there is too fierce. You and I have to beware. When we're facing significant purchases, we need to be really, really careful. A significant purchase is anything around $300 or more. Some of you that are very wealthy, it may be a little bit more. Some of you that are very broke, it may be a little less. A significant purchase will cause changes in you physically when you make it. You'll get a little sweat in your palm, a little sweat on your upper lip. Your eyes will dilate a little bit. Your heart rate will increase a little bit. In general, you're going to have a physiological reaction called excitement because you're getting pumped. I'm getting to buy that thing. And if you have that reaction, there's a chance that the next day, those physiological changes in your body have worn off and you will have what's known as buyer's remorse. Have you ever bought something and woke up the next morning and go, oh, Lord, forgive me, what did I do? We've all done that. I used to sell high-end houses, expensive homes, and we had a tremendous buyer's remorse the next morning. People would come in and want to get back out of the deal. And so we had a company come in and teach us how to sell against that. And so what we would do is sit down and go, here's what's going to happen. You're all excited. This is a great thing. We're getting this contract all signed up. We're going to build this beautiful home for you. But what normally happens is you've had these physiological changes and you've perspired all these things. And you're going to wake up in the morning. Normal people wake up the next day and kind of have this feeling of, oh, what have I done? And if you have that feeling, you're just normal. Roll over and go back to sleep. Just doing that little speech cut our fallout in half. Because we normalized buyer's remorse as a part of the sales process. And that's not manipulative, or is it? Bottom line is that it's a part of the marketing process, and you need to be aware of it. And I don't know about you, but I have been in a grocery store a time or two and seen a kid in the grocery store having one of those Phase 7 grocery store fits. Have you ever seen one of those? I was in there the other day and I saw one, and this kid is screaming at the top of his lungs. And his mother's got that vein on her head doing this, you know. She's getting ready to take him outside. It's not going to be good, you know. She's holding him up a little too high, carrying him out there like this, right? And she's yelling at him, it's not in the budget, it's not in the budget, it's not in the budget. I was scared to death she was going to say, Dave Ramsey says we can't buy it. I have found out that each one of us have that grocery store kid inside of us. That kid, that little red-faced grocery store kid is living inside of us. His name is immaturity. His name is immaturity. And I know this because I went down to the furniture store and I saw this lady dressed real nice, about 40 years old, standing beside a leather couch going, I want one, and you're gonna buy it. And I went to the boat show and I saw this guy in camo, and he's standing beside a bass boat going, I need a bigger engine, those bass are outrunning me. And I went to the golf store and I saw a guy in there going, I need a big Bertha, I can hit the ball like Tiger with the big Bertha. And I went back to the furniture store and there was another lady in there beside a china cabinet going, we need a china cabinet, I know we don't use the china, but I want a cabinet to put it in. And everywhere I go, including me when I go to the electronics store, oh, Dave, big screen fit, aisle 3. Yeah. We all have that little kid inside of us. He's inside of us and he throws a fit. If we don't make that little kid behave, in other words, if you and I don't grow up and make our decisions based on the money that we really have, not on our little desires, and I work so hard I deserve it. Oh, shut up. Seriously, whine. Call the wambulance. Really. You deserve it when you've saved up the money and can pay for it. Until then, you don't deserve it. Shocking. He said no. No is a great word. It'll set you free. No doubt about it. So, how do we gain power over our purchases? Well, we have to lay out some basic things that we say, these are the rules when we're doing a significant purchase. When there's over $300 involved, these are the rules. Rule number 1 is we wait overnight. When we walk in to see something, we analyze the situation unless we've already gathered all of our facts and have done shopping up to that point. Now, in that case, you've waited overnight because you've worked up to the process. But if you walk in and you see something and you're getting ready to impulse on an item over $300, no. Sharon and I, our rule is we wait. We step back and we wait overnight. It might be gone. There's only one. What is it, a Picasso? They're shrink wrapped on a pallet in the back. Please. There is more than one. And if you get back tomorrow and there's none left at all and you missed out, maybe God is saying you weren't supposed to have it. You mean God says no? Uh-huh. He says no all the time. Chuck Swindoll says he says yes, no, or grow. These are the 3 answers to prayers. Yes, no, and grow. So what we're saying is he who is impulsive exalts folly. That's what the proverb says. He who is impulsive exalts folly. Folly is the verb of a fool in action. So when you're impulsive and when I'm impulsive, especially on purchases, that's a fool in action. The second thing we want to look at is we want to consider our motives, because no amount of stuff equals contentment or fulfillment. Is this a need or is this a want? I'll help you with that. It's a want. Your needs are met. You have food, shelter, clothing, transportation, and utilities. Your needs are met. To buy a better one is not a need. I needed another house. No, you wanted another house. I need a better car. You don't need a better car. You want a better car. Basic transportation is there. You're just whining about what it is. There's nothing wrong with getting a better car, but quit telling everybody it's a need. You're being a child. It's a want. There's nothing wrong with buying once. I want you to live like no one else so that later you can live and give like no one else. It's okay, but just be an adult and say, I saved up the money, I worked hard, it fits in our overall plan, we've made a mature decision, I want it. That's okay. You're not a bad Christian because you wanted something. There's nothing wrong with you having some nice things, but let's just call it what it is and quit chasing happiness with stuff. I'll be happy if I just got that. I'll be happy if we could live over there. I'll be happy if I had a car like that. I'll be happy if I had those shoes. I'll be happy if I had that purse. I'll be happy. No, you won't. Happiness is a bully in the schoolyard. He draws a line, and as soon as you step across the line, he backs up and draws another line. He keeps moving the line. You will never catch Mr. Happiness. And money cannot buy happiness. Money can buy fun. And it's okay for money to buy some fun. You can have some fun. You can get you a nice boat and go play on the water. You can go to Disney World, or you can go on a cruise. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fun. And you should do those things, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that. If you save up and pay for it and you're doing the other things we talk about. But the trick is, don't do that because my whole life I've wanted to go to Hawaii. When I get to go to Hawaii, I'll be happy then. You're going to be let down. It's pretty, but it's not heaven. It's not. And you're not going to feel that way when you get there. Quit looking for happiness in the wrong place. It's not there. Buy some fun, but you can't buy happiness. I'll tell you this, it doesn't matter how much money you get. If you eat enough lobster, eventually it tastes like soap. None of this stuff is going to make you happy. And Jesus said this real clearly. He said, don't build bigger barns and try to get your security and your happiness out of your stuff. There's nothing wrong with saving money and having a barn full of grain. But the problem with that guy, that particular guy, was he was looking for his eternal security and his security and everything else out of what was in the barn. He wanted happiness from stuff. And you're not going to get that. It won't work for you. Never buy anything you don't understand. Now, we're going to cover stuff like investments and we're going to cover stuff like insurance in this course. So you don't put money in those things unless you understand them. But other things apply too. Quit buying anything you don't understand. You rush into something and then you find out later you've gotten a mortgage that's gotten you all twisted up and you didn't know the terms on the thing. You rush into something and you don't even know how to operate the thing you bought. Some people have a whole bowl of remotes in their house and can't work half the stuff on their TV. Don't buy things you don't understand. Consider the opportunity cost on your money. Now, opportunity cost is a financial term. If I take $5,000 and I go on a cruise with it, there's nothing wrong with that. But I lost the opportunity to fund a Roth IRA. If I take $5,000 and I fund a Roth IRA, there is nothing wrong with that. But I lost the opportunity to go on a cruise with that $5,000. So when you take a block of money and you spend it or you give it or you invest it, think about what opportunities you missed by doing that. So when you have a decision before you of substance, of size, you say to yourself, is there anything else with this block of money right now that we should be doing or that we later will wish we had done instead? That's the missed opportunity thing. A guy that I know in the investment business, when he was in his 20s, he was very successful selling investments. And he set a goal. When I make $100,000 a year, I'm going to take $40,000 out of my mutual fund and buy myself a brand new Mercedes. The year was 1986, many, many years ago. Well, sure enough, he hit his $100,000 mark and he went down to get the new Mercedes. He was a young pup in his 20s. The Mercedes guy's like, how are you going to pay for this? And he said, well, I just took the cash out of my mutual fund. I'm going to write a check. And the guy's like, okay, let's look, right? And so he says, I get that Mercedes. And he said, I just want to test drive it. And the guy said, that's fine. Why don't you just take it home? And you can come back tomorrow. And if you want to buy it, we'll do the paperwork then. Because once you take it home, you know you can't bring it back, right? That's a sales technique. And he said, I drove that thing, and out there on the emblem was that Mercedes right there on the hood sticking up out there. And he said, man, that was just saying to me, you are a success. And he said, in case I didn't look there, I could look right there on the steering wheel. There was another one saying, you are a success. He said it was everything. It smelled rich. It was rich. It was fun to drive. I pulled up in the driveway. My wife came running out squealing, and she's like, you did it. You did it. You finally hit your goals. I'm so proud of you. Your success. The neighbors came over. They rubbed on the car, the whole thing. He said, I made a mistake. I took out my financial calculator and I looked at what my $40,000 for this Mercedes might be worth in a few years, and I couldn't do it. I took the car back. I bought a $6,000 car. I put that $40,000 in a mutual fund. He said, I never added to it. Now, many years later, he was very, very wealthy, as you might imagine. And 12 years later, he was driving a very, very nice vehicle, and he pulled up at a stoplight. And he noticed a 1986 Mercedes, just like he had always wanted, next to him. And he rolled down his window in his really nice car, and said, sir, I don't want to be a snob or be rude, but I'm curious, do you have any idea what that car is worth? And the guy says, yes, I just bought it, and the book value on it, I just got it at book. I'm really proud of it. It's an awesome car. I paid $4,000 for it. The $40,000 turned into $4,000 in 12 years. He said, what was interesting was I went home and I opened my mutual fund statement. I've never added anything to that mutual fund except that original $40,000, and 12 years later, it was $300,000. He said, so I could have had a $4,000 car or a $300,000 mutual fund. I think I made a good choice. That's the opportunity cost on your money. The last thing you want to do when you're putting up a barrier between you and purchases is always seek the counsel of your spouse. Always talk it through with your spouse. The Bible is real clear on this. Who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, and he will have no lack of gain. Gentlemen, listen to me carefully. If you are married to a virtuous wife, lady, that means you are not a barking chihuahua. And God did not give you permission to become the Holy Spirit here. But if you are married to a virtuous wife, like I am, and you will listen to her counsel on these major decisions, look at that very carefully. You will have no lack of gain. And by the way, I think God wouldn't be mad at us for taking a little bit of liberty for that and switching it around a little bit. Who can find a virtuous husband? For his worth is far above rubies. The heart of his wife safely trusts him, and she will have no lack of gain. Learn to work together when you're married and seek the counsel of your spouse. You will make much better decisions. Sharon and I do no giving, and we do no major purchases. We do almost no minor purchases unless we are in unity on the decision. We have to be unified on the decision. If we're getting ready to give to something, to some ministry, and Sharon has a bad feeling about it, if she has a feeling, that's known as the Holy Spirit. We listen to that. She's from the South, and one of those feelings, every time financially I go against one of those feelings, costs me $10,000. I quit going against those feelings a long time ago. And you know what? Sometimes she's looking at something and I have a sense about it. I get a check in my spirit. And we have learned to work together. It is one of the most valuable decision-making tools you can have is to respect each other's opinion, be respectful of each other's opinion, and use that as a decision-making tool.
Whenever Winston and I make a big purchase, we always negotiate. Always. Because who doesn't love to save money? Last time we were buying a car, we researched and figured out, okay, this is exactly the car we are looking for. We found it at a local car dealership. So we went and we were kind of, seeing it on the lot. And right about then, a sales guy came over. And of course, he was like, how can I help you today? And we're like, well, this is actually kind of the car we were looking for. And so Winston just threw out automatically this low ball offer. The sales guy basically fainted, probably was a little offended. It was like, what? No, you don't understand. You can't buy that car for that amount. No, I'd be losing money. I can't do that. And Winston was like, okay, well, let's go in your office and let's look at some numbers, look at a few options. So we go in the dealership, go in his office, and again, the guy's kind of fumbling around. He's like, well, no. I mean, you have to understand, this is what we got it for and blah, blah, blah. So Winston threw out another offer, a little bit higher than the lowball offer, and then we just went silent. And we just sat there, awkwardly, like this. And of course, I'm like chatty Cathy, and I'm like, oh, I want to say something. But before we talked about, let's just go silent. And then the guy gets awkward, so he starts talking, and he ends up lowering the price. I mean, he gets going lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. And finally, Winston was like, all right, it's a good deal. We'll take it. Now, it wasn't the way lowball offer we were asking, but trust me, we got a great deal. That's when I realized negotiating isn't weird or rude. It's kind of fun, and it can save you money. So let's go through 7 tips that I use, and maybe some of them will help you. First off, always tell the absolute truth. Okay, we are not liars here, people. If you're in the middle of negotiating on a price, it might be easy to throw in a little fib here or there, but your character is worth way more than the extra 10% off. My friend Chris Hogan, who's the author of the book Everyday Millionaires, once said, character is one of the most important virtues in becoming a millionaire. Part of that is telling the truth, even when it's difficult or unpopular. So whether you're negotiating on a price for a home or even just a $2 vase at a yard sale, Always tell the absolute truth, not the half truth, the absolute truth. Next, use the power of cash. That's right, not a lot of people use cash anymore, but that doesn't mean you can't. There's just something about cash. Maybe it's the color green, maybe it's the sound, maybe it's the smell. I don't know what it is, but it triggers a response. It's emotional, it's visual. It tells the seller that this deal can be done immediately, like right now. No loans, no checks to take to the bank, so use cash to your advantage. Third, understand and use walkaway power. Here's the key. Don't act like you care too much. Be willing to literally walk away if you have to. If the seller knows you're in love with their product, it'll be unlikely that they're gonna give you a deal. Now, this is one that I struggle with. We were looking at a house, Winston and I were walking through it, and the realtor actually was the owner of the house. So we're talking to her, and I just start going off. I'm like, I think about all the babies I'm gonna bring home to this house and where the nurseries are gonna be, all of the great, memories of Christmas morning. Like, this is where our Christmas tree could be. I mean, I am just all in. And we go and get in the car, and Winston was like, babe, you just showed all your cards. I was like, I'm sorry, the emotions took over. So you have to play it cool and just simply say, I feel like you could give me a better deal here. And then just see what happens. If they say no, then all you have to say is, okay, well, thank you so much for your time, and walk away. Now, they might follow you to the door and actually give you a better offer, but if they don't, still walk away and be patient. Be willing to wait until you can find a great deal. Fourth, learn to shut up. What I mean is silence is powerful. It can be super awkward, but you can use it to your advantage. If the car dealer says, it's gonna be $5,000, then just look at him without saying a word. Winston and I did this, remember? Now, I know it can seem really weird, but I promise it works. I'm not saying that you have to be rude or mean during the negotiation, but just let the seller do the talking and see what happens. You might be surprised. The seller might make you a lower offer without you even saying a word. Fifth, learn the phrase and learn it well. Say, that's not good enough. When the seller tells you the price, just simply say, that's not good enough. And combine that with the silent treatment, and you've got a great negotiating tactic. 6, identify the good guy, bad guy technique. Auto dealerships have been known to use this. The key here is to realize that it's being used against you. So the sales guy on the floor might say something like, I really want you guys to have this car. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give you a year of free oil changes and $500 off. Let me go talk to my manager and I'll be right back. And you're thinking, man, this guy is great. I mean, he's on my side. He's trying to get me a good deal. This is awesome. He walks away, and truth be told, he goes to the break room, eats a Kit Kat, watches some TV, comes back and says, I'm so sorry. My manager, he's just not going for it. But here's what I'll do for you. And then he offers you a deal that's, not even a deal at all. So look out for the good guy, bad guy technique. If you see it, you're probably getting played. My last negotiating tip is this. Master the if I take away technique. One of my dad's friends was looking to buy a house, and he was walking through this house, and it really wasn't that great, but he saw a really nice boat in the driveway. So he told the realtor, I see you guys are firm on a $150,000 price. It's a little too much for me, but if you throw in that boat, we've got a deal. Well, it was obviously a really nice boat, and the guy wasn't gonna go for it. So then that's when he said no, and my dad's friend said, well, if I can't have the boat, then you'll need to throw something else in, or you're gonna have to come down on the price. See what he did there? He put the boat in the deal and the seller wasn't interested, and he still carried on like the boat had always been part of the deal in the first place. That's the tried and true if I take away technique. Now, this is my last little bonus tip for you, extra. This is a life tip. If something bad happens to you, like you get to a hotel and they're booked out or they didn't have the room available, or you order pizza and the pizza never comes, happened to me, and you're talking on the phone or you're talking to the salesperson, just always ask the question, okay, so what are you gonna do for me? And they start giving you free stuff. That's right, little bonus tip from Rachel. So if you wanna be a master at negotiation, try a few of these 7 tips. But one thing to remember when you're trying to get a good deal is ask yourself, can I use this? Do I really need this? Did I budget for this? Because if it's something that you don't need, you can't use, or you didn't budget for, then it's really not a great deal, no matter how much you negotiate for it.
People are surrounding me saying, not only, is this something you can have, it's also something you deserve because you work so hard. That's easy stuff to hear and easy stuff to believe, but it's not true.
I wouldn't have gone for all the bells and whistles. None of those bells or whistles, I don't have them now, so they obviously weren't that important, right? I mean, all the things, that leather couch that we had to have, we don't even have it anymore.
I think that being a little more humble and realizing that all of this is a gift from God was very important.
If we're going to make big decisions, which at that time I felt that was a big decision, we need to talk about this. It forced us to sit down and talk about money. Having that discussion and that actual situation happen was a good thing because it forced us now to say, okay, just because we can afford it doesn't mean we need to get it.
Like we were out of debt and we were rocking on baby step forward. Remember that feeling of what that feels like. Think it through. How was it going to feel if we got back into debt? How hard did we work to get out of debt? Before you see the guy with the birds.
Okay, guys, you're 5 lessons into Financial Peace University and you're doing great. Keep watching these videos and knocking out your action steps and using the tools in your membership. Keep making your budget every single month and adjusting it as you need to week by week. You'll be on to your next baby step in no time. Now, in lesson 6, we're going to be talking about insurance. So let's all be adults here because it's kind of a serious topic and it can be a little intimidating. So we're going to break it down and make it easy for you to understand. You'll learn what you need and what you don't need. This will set you and your family up for success. And trust me, you do not want to miss the next lesson. Now it's time for your 1-minute takeaway. Write down one thing you'll do this week based on what you just learned.